Humba siya humba, 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 humba siya humba. We are walking in the light of God. 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 We are walking, walking, we are walking, walking, we are walking in the light of God. We are walking, walking, we are walking, walking, we are walking in the light of God. We are walking in the love 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 of God. We are walking, walking, we are walking, walking, we are walking in the love of God. We are walking, walking, we are walking, walking, we are walking in the love of God. Siya hamba kukenyenyen kweko, siya hamba kukenyenyen kweko, siya hamba kukenyenyen kweko, siya hamba kukenyenyen kweko, nyenyen kweko. Siya hamba, hamba siya hamba, hamba siya hamba kukenyenyen kweko, nyenyen kweko. Siya hamba, hamba siya hamba, hamba siya hamba kukenyenyen kweko. Hamba, hamba siya hamba, hamba siya hamba, hamba siya hamba, hamba siya hamba. Hamba siya hamba, hamba siya hamba, hamba siya hamba, hamba siya hamba.
And here we are giving them a standing ovation as well. I'm so grateful to have our beautiful CSL Celebration Choir with us virtually, and to know that what an amazing energy that whole choir builds within me. So thank you for all of you who are out there. I'm so glad to see you again. And I love that because the energy of that song exudes in me this kind of magical feeling. It's a little indescribable, and it reminds me of when I was a kid. So what I loved, whenever I was a kid, I had this huge active imagination. I used to have a tooth fairy pillow. And the little tooth fairy pillow was like this big, and it had like a little pocket on it, and you stuck your little tooth in the tooth fairy pillow, and then I would put my tooth fairy pillow underneath my pillow. And then when I woke up in the morning, there would be like change in the little tiny pocket. And it was amazing, and I loved the tooth fairy. I also had a ton of stuffed animals. They all had names. They all talked to each other. We had a whole storyline going on. We had some stuffed animal drama that happened sometimes. And I used to also have my imaginary friends that I would talk with in the bathroom. That was like my hangout with my imaginary friends. And I also love to paint rocks into gold, and then I would tie a little string around those rocks, and I would hide them Like at bedtime, I would hide it close to my bed, and I would have the little string, and I would have it in my hand so that around St. Patrick's Day, when the leprechauns came and they tried to take the gold, I would catch the leprechaun, and then it would give me amazing wishes that I would want in my life. And that's what I loved as being a kid. I was filled with joy, my imagination was running wild, and it reminded me of this essence of life. And then I grew up, and I had responsibilities, I had problems, I became disillusioned, I did drugs, I had all kinds of different challenges, and while I have had a blessed life, I also lost that sort of imagination and experience of life that was about wonder and awe. So I've been thinking about this, and whenever I do a sermon or a talk, I do a prayer, and oftentimes I ask for guidance from the universe on what is the most important thing that people need to hear right now. What is the most important thing? And I was guided to this book. It's called The Magic by Rhonda Byrne. And I did a whole retreat off of this. Now, Rhonda Byrne is the one who wrote The Secret. Well, she also wrote this book called The Magic. And in the beginning of the book, she says, "The magic you once believed in is true. It's the disillusioned adult perspective that's actually false. The magic of your life is real, and it can be far more wondrous than you have ever thought it could be as a child. It's more breathtaking, more awe-inspiring, and more exciting than you've ever seen before." So I really want to claim that inner magic again. I want to cultivate it. I feel like this year has been a year, well, not the whole year. Up through March was fantastic, and then once the pandemic hit, it was pretty rough for me, and I'm going to say a lot of community members, because there has been a lot of death, there's been a lot of sickness, and there's been a lot of change. And for me, there's been a lot of cancellations of all of my favorite things that I love to do. And with that came, for me, a lot of grief and sadness. And I know a lot of grief and sadness is also out there with a lot of you. And so I want to rekindle that magic. And so in this talk is really based on this book. I reread it. I love it. I'm going to do this again. She's got a 28-day practice that you can do, but I'm going to give you just a couple of great nuggets that will remind you of who you are. And this is the secret. I'm going to give it to you right away. This is the secret to you reclaiming your inner magic right now. The Gospel of Matthew said in the Holy Scriptures, "Whoever has will be given more, and they will have an abundance. And whoever does not have, even what they have will be taken from them." So when you hear that verse, or when I've heard that verse, it seems like it's pretty unfair. It seems like, God, that kind of sucks. You mean the rich get richer and the poor get poorer? But that's not really what this passage is about. There's a little riddle in it. There's a mystery to uncover in it. And the answer to the riddle is one word: gratitude. Now try it on for size this way. Whoever has gratitude will be given more, and they will have an abundance, and whoever does not have gratitude, even what they have will be taken from them. They even say the same thing in the Quran. And remember when God proclaimed, "If you are grateful, I will give you more. But if you are ungrateful, then punishment is indeed severe." Now, I don't think there is an outside God punishing us. But what I think is that we are internally disconnected from the source of our life. And that in itself is a terrible thing to bear. And so my invitation to you is to reconnect to the magic of life today. Newton said, every action always has an equal and opposite reaction, which means that every action of giving thanks always has an equal and opposite reaction of receiving. So this means the very action of gratitude sets off a reaction of receiving, and that the more sincerely and the more deeply that more grateful you feel, the more you will receive. So I have a quote. I have a quote that one of the congregants gave me in my last community. It was she framed it. It's just this big framed quote, and I have it in my office every day as a reminder. And it says, "What if you woke up today with only what you thanked God for yesterday?" So I contemplate that every day because it's so important for me to remind myself to be grateful, especially in challenging times. So my question to you is to contemplate, is your life magical right now? Are you feeling the magic? Are you feeling that energy and that essence? So I want to invite you to take stock right now. Look at all the major areas of your life: money, health, happiness, career, home, relationships. What areas are abundant? These areas that are abundant are very likely the areas where you have used gratitude and you experience magic as a result. Any areas that are not abundant are lacking gratitude. So to receive, you have to give. So you have to give gratitude first in order to receive. So gratitude is giving thanks. And when you cut yourself off from giving thanks, then you cut yourself off from receiving everything you want in life. So good is happening all around us at all times. This is what I know about God. I know that God is a universe that is fully supporting its creation. And the only time where I'm truly experiencing a deep sense of lack is when I have forgotten or I am disconnected from the universe. So if the good is happening all the time, like I always think about radio signals and different sound waves. So there's like lower sound waves, right? And then there's higher frequency sound waves. And a radio tuner can tune into whatever waves are going on. So the higher sound waves, let's say they're going on all the time. Let's say that's all the good you can ever handle. It's always happening all the time. And I am a tower, a frequency tower, where I can choose to tune in to what I want to experience. And so I choose to tune into my good, right? So I got to pivot myself. I got to switch the dial, change the channel, shift my awareness to the direction of the good. So in order to do this, if you're not feeling like that right now, you have to say the magic words, right? That's what they always say in fairy tales. You have to say the magic words in order for something to happen. Well, the magic words are as simple as this: thank you. Thank you is a bridge from where you are right now to where you are going. And this is the magic formula from the book. Number 1, deliberately think, feel, and say the words thank you. Number 2, the more you say it, the more you feel it. And number 3, the more you feel it, the more abundance you receive. It's as simple as that. What I know is that the more I teach spiritual principles, the simpler and easier they are. But the fact is that a lot of people might hear these words and they might know them, but there's a difference between hearing, knowing, and doing. And the difference will change your life. So perhaps you might be in a place where you're in a rat hole of negativity. Now, I know that those rat holes are really easy to go down. It's kind of like YouTube. YouTube has this equation of the more you look at something, the more it pops up in your feed. I know it's like that with Google and Facebook and all of the other social media platforms, but I use YouTube a lot. And it's really interesting because I could go, what have I been putting my attention on by what pops up in my YouTube feed? And I could see, have I been looking at all the destruction that's out there in the world? Or have I been learning from my TED Talks? Have I been following people who inspire me? Or have I been looking at all of the things that are destroying and corrupt in the world? Now, it's all happening, right? All of those frequencies are happening. But what am I putting my attention on? Now, if you have been putting your attention on something, or you've had something in your life that you would consider tumultuous or negative or difficult, like perhaps you're in a relationship that is fractured right now, or your business is affected because of the pandemic, right? Or maybe you lost your job, or you notice that your health is declining, and you've been, you put on people call it the COVID-19, the extra 19 pounds from sitting around since March. If you are noticing that you're in a negativity rat hole, you have to realize that you could be taking your life for granted. When we take things for granted, we are not giving thanks in return. And then the magic stops happening in our lives. So think about this. Like, are you grateful for your health when it's really good? Or are you only grateful for your health when you get sick? Like, I know when I get sick, and then I'm like, I was well for so long. But I forget to be grateful for my health when it's good. Or I had a friend who, I've been having this health issue, and I've been having some pain in my back. And she says, well, how much of your body feels good right now? Like, how much of your body? Well, like 95%. Okay, so 95% of your body feels good. And how often does your body feel that good that often? Like, how in a week, how well does your body feel during the week? Well, I only have this pain occasionally. Well, I guess it's like 95% of the time I'm feeling good. So she said, so what are you focusing on? This pain that's 5% of your time and 5% of your week, or are you focusing on the 95% of the time that your body is working well? Are you grateful for your job every day, or are you only grateful when you notice that others are losing theirs? Are you grateful when your car is working well, or are you grateful only whenever it breaks down? Are you grateful for your loved ones when everything is going well, or do you only talk to others about them when there are problems with your loved ones? Taking things for granted results in complaining. And when you complain, according to the law of attraction, you bring more things into your life to complain about. It is impossible to be negative when you're grateful. So look for things to be grateful for in a negative situation. So this is where the real work comes in, especially whenever you're experiencing, many of us are experiencing something like this pandemic. Let's say you're out of work because of the pandemic, or you've been furloughed. Your spiritual job, your spiritual work in the world is to start looking for what you're grateful for, even in the midst of this negative situation. So for instance, you might be out of work, and you might say, I am so grateful that I have more time with my family during this period. Or, I am so grateful that this is the first time in my life that I've ever been unemployed. Or, I am so grateful for the support of my friends and family and their willingness to believe in me as I keep searching for a new job. And even though I'm not finding it, I am so grateful for what a supportive group of friends and family I have. You can tell how your gratitude is working by how you feel in the negative situation. Because life happens. Shift happens. And we can shift what we are experiencing in any situation, but it all has to happen in here. There's another example. So, for instance, I knew this man whose name is Danny, and he was having problems with his father. And he never seemed good enough for his father. So I worked with Danny, and I invited Danny to think about what were some things that he could be grateful for in his father, who he felt his father never believed he was good enough. And he said, I'm really grateful to know that most of my relationships are really good. And I'm really grateful for my relationship with my father because I have learned that I'm not going to do what he did with my children. And so therefore, I am such a compassionate father to my children, and I love who I am with them. Or he also said, I'm grateful to laugh with my father. Some people don't even have a father to laugh with. So here's the deal. I want to challenge you. I want to challenge you out there. I want you to take on this work. This is your life. You're a spiritual being having a life experience. Take yourself on and list one negative situation in your life. And then what I want you to do is list 10 things that you are grateful for about the negative situation. And then at the very end, say thank you 3 times. And then just for today, or whatever day you're doing this on, see if you can get through one day without complaining or seeing a negative thing about the situation. This is what we call the work. This is where the true challenging work begins. Because it's so much easier to just sit and complain, but it's a much different story to start shifting your attention to what you're grateful for. It's a much different story. I was really grateful because there was a couple of weeks ago, there was somebody who said we were texting on the Facebook live stream that was going on while Kathy Ann was speaking in her sermon. And she asked me to speak about QAnon. And I thought that was a really interesting question because she says, well, why didn't you speak up about QAnon and all the damage and the things that are going on because of them? And it made me think about how can I shift my attention from all of the conspiracy theorists and all of the hate groups that are out there. And, it's going on. There is some very harmful, hurtful things that are going on with people. But I have to know that underneath all of that, humanity is good. That there is a goodness that resides in humanity. And there's no way that you can address a problem at the problem that is happening. So if I'm complaining about an issue, there's no way I can address the issue. If I'm creating a solution for the issue, that's where the change happens. And it's the same thing with gratitude. If I'm in this place of complaining, I can't experience a shift in that situation with that person. It's the same with how we are out in the world. I watched a documentary several years ago about Daryl Davis. It's called Accidental Courtesy. If you haven't seen it, it's amazing. It's a black man who befriends KKK members. And it kind of blew my mind because I thought I have a lot of fear, I will say personal fear about KKK members. And he's a black man who decided to take people on by loving them and caring for them and being kind to them. You see, he didn't approach them with the same hate they were spewing at him. He approached them with love. And it all happened because he he still is a pianist. He's an amazing musician. And he was in a bar playing some music, and this one man came to him and he said, "Oh, I've never seen a black man play like Jerry Lee Lewis." And Davis was like, "Well, that actually Jerry Lee Lewis was influenced by the same black boogie-woogie blues and piano artists that he was influenced by." And the guy was like, I don't believe you. And he's like, well, you know what? Jerry Lee Lewis is he's a personal friend of mine. And the guy was like, what? And so Daryl was curious about this man, and the man was curious about Daryl, and the man invited Daryl out for a drink after they played. And so they're there, and they're having a drink together. And Daryl was like, why did you invite me to sit down? And the guy says, well, I've never had a drink with a black man before. I've never talked to one before. And Daryl thought, wow, that's really interesting. So he kind of talked to him more, and then he found out that he was a member of the Ku Klux Klan, which is why he had never sat down with a black person before. And instead of pushing this person away, see, this is what we do with our complaining and our attention on the negative, is we push things away and we just create resistance. Instead of that, he stepped into the invitation of having a conversation with him and being curious about him. So in the eventual relationship, this man ended up giving up his affiliation with the Ku Klux Klan because he was loved by this man, by Daryl Davis. And Daryl Davis has done this with so many Klansmen, and they have given up their robes because he is coming from a place of love for humanity and for people. And that's what gratitude creates in the world, is it can create things like a Ku Klux Klan member taking their robe off and giving it up and starting to recognize and embrace more people. Like, to me, that's a miracle. But the same kind of miracles can happen to you in your own personal life, where if you pay more attention to what you're grateful for than what you're angry about, then you can actually start creating a shift. Because gratitude opens us up to ideas and creativity. Now, it is okay to be angry, but it's also knowing, like, I'm angry, I want something to shift and change. If I want something to shift and change, I get to be the one who gets to shift and change first. And within me, when I shift and change inside of me, I pull out a new idea of possibility on the outside world to reflect from that inner change. So my last invitation to you is to be a contagion of gratitude. Buddha said, let us rise up and be thankful, for if we didn't learn a lot today, at least we learned a little. And if we didn't learn a little, at least we didn't get sick. And if we got sick, at least we didn't die. So let us all be thankful. So during times of high anxiety like these, I want to invite you to not only be thankful for yourself, but I want you to take that gratitude and shift it to others as well. And that's my third invitation for you today, is to write down the name of 3 people you're grateful for. And then I want you to have a gratitude conversation and tell those people why you're grateful for them. I want you to take this out in this world and tell people why you appreciate them. I want you to continue to show gratitude to all the people in your life who have touched you. And trust me, if you do these 3 things, the first thing is to say thanks. The second thing is to turn a negative situation into something you're grateful for. And the third thing is for you to spread that gratitude like a contagion of love. Then trust me, the magic in your life will reignite, it'll burst forth, it'll become firecrackers, and magical fairies and amazing angels and miracles will happen everywhere you go. And that's the kind of life that I want to live, and I invite you to join me in that magical life as well. So let us pray together. Oh, infinite Spirit. Oh, Holy One. Presence. Oh, divine love, life. I am here to live as an essence of the magic of reality. I'm willing to shift and change and to open myself up to become a place where love is held dear. I'm a place where this magic awakens within me, a newness, so I can spread the joy and the gratitude and the love all around this planet, so each and every person can awaken to the goodness that they are, knowing that hurt people, and so I'm here to heal myself, and I'm here to heal that idea that we're not worthy. Because I know that I am worthy and I am deserving, and so I deserve to treat myself with the love and the adoration that each and every person deserves, that God has created us for, which is to be an essence, to be a force for good in the world, to be a channel, a chalice of love that overflows with appreciation and allows us to just nurture that essence right here and right now within each other, so that we can grow and blossom and bloom and create in new ways and new possibilities. I'm so grateful to know that this secret is awakened in me, and I remember who I am today. I remember that I'm a pillar of strength and truth and life and love, and I'm here to just be that right now. And to know that each and every person who stands in my presence, that they are also reminded of this truth. And each and every person who stands in their presence, that they are also reminded of their truth. And we cannot help but be a contagion of love on this planet. I'm so grateful to know that it starts here, it starts now with me. And for that, I am grateful. And I know that I'm not doing this alone. For the infinite universe is here to support me, all of us, in this overflowing goodness. And for that, I'm grateful, and so it is.